All right, Dan, thank you so much for being here with us in the Master Passive Income audience. And you're with Rocket Dollar. I'm so excited to hear everything about it. So tell us a little bit about yourself and then what you do at Rocket Dollar.
Yeah, Dustin. So first of all, great to be here today. I'm from the Mecca here in the my beautiful green screen room at the Capital Factory in Austin, Texas. And our big thing's pretty simple: to help you pay no taxes or get more money faster. That's it.
I love that. That's short and simple. So pay less. I love your shirt. It says
Thank
no
you.
to taxes. I
No to
absolutely
taxes.
love that because I'm not a big fan of taxes. Definitely being an
Hmm.
American, we're not a big fan of taxes.
No, we're
So
not.
with Rocket Dollar, you said there's two things. Now explain each one of those a little more in depth.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first side, it's a little tongue in cheek, but it's true. On the no taxes side, what we are empowering you to do is instead of, Joe Jane America sitting blindly in some mutual fund or 2% bond fund, we're empowering you to take back your portion of the $10 trillion out there, your slice, and invest in what you want when you want. So you want to invest in a private self-storage deal. You want to do a peer-to-peer loan. A friend's startup down the street. All of that you can do with your retirement dollars. It's legal. It's been around forever, and we make it quick and easy. Where you're either going to benefit and defer taxes for decades, or have the ability to convert into a Roth, and then thereafter, it's kind of the seed versus the tree analogy. And pay taxes on the seed, not the big tree on the back end.
That I think it's a great idea. Now, when you're talking about using money that you already have, correct? Like you already have a
Hmm.
401k, an IRA, you already
Yes.
have money set aside, and you're utilizing that money to invest in other things, correct?
Correct. Absolutely, yes. So, the flip side of the coin, as we talk about, is, the more money faster. So, who are you investing in? Well, you're investing in your friend's startup. A lot of times, real estate is the most common asset here. So, whether it's a multifamily, single family, a self storage sort of deal, it's dynamic for passive income. And I'm not a product promo here, but this is one of the last time you see one of these puppies here, 100 grand. What we're seeing over time is folks are moving over, especially mid-career folks, 100,000 as a passive investment.
Yeah, and so looking at real estate, we love investing in rental
Hmm.
properties because we make so much money every single month. Now, when
Yes.
I use cash or when anybody uses cash or gets a mortgage to buy rental property, as opposed to using their 401k or IRA self-directed, um, I could usually put that money right in my pocket. Now, if I'm using a self-directed IRA, how can I use that money right now? Do I have to wait and defer it, or how does that work out?
Yeah, the nice thing here with the checkbook controlled self-directed IRA or also a solo 401k, you have the ability to invest in what you want when you want. There's no delays. So, as we see it, there's been a lot of friction over the past 50 years of these accounts. And I think part of it is, let's just say it was not country club cool, to tell your folks, hey, I was able to get this great deal, that Dustin has to pay 10%. But we were on the phone for 2 hours and I had to find a fax machine, and it was a tough process versus, hey, this is a cool deal. I just signed up in 5 minutes on my phone. I moved over money. So maybe in total 10 minutes. And then I have the checkbook control because now as these dividends come in, I can invest in a crowdfunding or, double down on another deal that your syndicate may have.
So you can't touch the money that comes in, correct? Like it doesn't go into your pocket ever. It goes right back into the account.
Yeah, so buy forever until you're 59 and a half. You cannot touch it without penalty. And then, of course, when you're 70 plus, you have to start doing minimum required distributions. But yeah, so I assume everybody's 40 these days. It's a nice, easy number. You're 40 years old. Yeah, you're not, right now, you're probably sitting in some mutual fund. You can't touch it for 20 years without penalty. Same deal here, but wouldn't it be nice to get an ongoing 10% return? Maybe get some equity if you think of the A share, B share scenario where the B share, you're getting some back end equity. It's great. It's really positive, and I think that's where we're seeing more syndicate deals go towards.
You hit the nail on the head. So when I started investing was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, and people were talking about using your IRA and your 401k. When I was young enough, I didn't really have one, but they were all talking
Sure.
about it. But the process of actually doing it was so much harder than it is now. Now, when you say a checkbook and you can just do it in minutes, expand a little bit more on that process, because when somebody's thinking about, they have to get somebody else to manage their 401k somewhere, like their current 401k, not a self-directed. They put the money over here and they take care of it. Tell us why it's so much different and now as opposed to then. Like, what is the but I guess just walk us through the process of getting, we have our IRA right now. We want to make it
Yeah.
self-directed, making sure we're taking care of all the tax issues and, not doing anything that's going to be bad. We're actually doing everything right. So walk us through that process.
Yeah, and if I could, hopefully we're showing on the screen here. I think easier is just showing how easy it is from this process. So I came into rocketdollar.com. I want to open a self-directed account. So what I'm doing, I'm just entering my personal information. In this instance, we're doing a Roth IRA, some of the KYC, AML. We use credit cards so we don't eat into your balance, and boom, you're set up. And this is in real time, but we can kind of go through again. But it really is this simple. If you're choosing the self-directed IRA, or if you're self-employed, the solo 401k, and you enter your information in the back, and we're also capturing this information for the checkbook control, which saves a lot of friction down the road. And as I said, we're also not eating into your balance. So if somebody just has that 10 or 25K to roll in, we're good to go. So this is literally all of 5 minutes. Next up here, and this is some patent pending technology in the background, as you can see here, is that, okay, so where am I going to transfer my money from? So in this example, somebody, once again, they're moving into Roth. They're probably with one of the big guys, so Charles Schwab out there. Pretty simple, so they're only, big hitter, 500,000, a little bit more than my 100 grand. But, you upload a few documents here. And just for reference, we have a rock star fulfillment and support team, ex-Merrill Lynch, Brooklyn Law School, tax attorneys, really, really solid folks on the back end. So you can move your money over in a very reasonable amount of time. And then finally here is, how are you going to track some of this? So most folks, especially as we alluded to, after the first investment, they're either going to do a second one, maybe with the same syndicator, or maybe get into crowdfunding. So the benefit here is two things. One is, instead of having your paperwork all over an old school Google Doc, you have everything here together. So, although we are never claimed to be tax attorneys, coincidentally enough, we've had so much feedback that we're offering a gold product that will take care of, in this example here, because the account value is over $250,000, the Form 5500. And likewise, if there were to be a Roth conversion, and likewise, if you need a tax attorney, on the bat phone, all of that is included in our offering. So, head to toe, we just went through the sign up, the transfer, and then on the tracking side, maybe every month somebody logs in for 2 minutes, and that's it. We're rocking and rolling.
Wow. So it looked like getting signed up with Rocket Dollar was very, very fast. And this process of moving the balance over from wherever you have it currently is rather quick. Now, it does take time for the actual transfer to go through, right? You have to sit maybe 5 days.
Yeah, so you're right. It does take, conservatively, we'll say a month for an SDIRA, a lot quicker for a solo 401k. But this just gives buffer time, mainly for the individual. If he or she, I get it, we're all busy in life, maybe does not have the opportunity to reach out to a Fidelity and such. But, for reference, we've moved money from 50 states. We're actually in Times Square. NASDAQ thought what we were doing is pretty cool. They put us up in Times Square as kind of a thank you for some of the momentum we've had. And, most importantly, though, to the end consumer, we've moved money from, at least 50 custodians, likewise in the last quarter alone. So, for example, if your money's moving from the likes of the USAA, they're more likely to cut a paper check. There's other things that we would have the insight, just because, we specialize in this space, that we can provide to make it a smoother sort of process.
So if we're going to be investing our money, I know the answer, but I want you to explain what your thoughts are. So if we were to invest in real estate, which is what we're going to do with Rocket Dollar, all of my students, everybody that watches me, we talk about investing in rental properties. We buy rental properties, we make money in cash flow every single month. How is this different than a REIT? A real estate investment trust, or buying a stock or something like that? How is this different, and what do I need to do? And on my end, like, is it like I put in here and set it and forget it, or am I doing work? Like, explain that process, and especially with like a REIT, we buy a REIT and get dividends. That's all you get. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's actually and I'm going to stop the screen for a moment. It's actually very similar. You're going to write a check, and then you're going to receive dividends back. And then when the property sells, you're going to receive your principal back. And it's going to ACH or wire into your account. And then you can do whatever you want. So you're right. Historically, there was a lot of friction. There was a lot of paperwork with some random third party that needed to be filled out. Particularly if you're doing a second, third tranche, you would be treated like it was a brand new investment. With us, we offer our individuals full checkbook control. So just like your piggy bank checking account, you can invest in what you want. Likewise, with your SDIRA or solo 401k, I can take 50K and put it in a REIT. I can put 50K in a private, multifamily deal. Pretty much the same logic as the dividends come in. And of course, with the REIT, you would have to sell out of it in case it was a timed REIT, which doesn't happen too often. Whereas on the passive side, you have a pretty good feeling when the property is going to sell and that principal is going to come back.
So if I buy a rental property, I'm going to use cash for the down payment, which would be using the checkbook out of Rocket Dollar. Use that to use the down payment, correct? And then from there, all the expenses, all the repairs, I pay out of the checkbook, like you're saying.
Yep.
And then any money that comes back in has to go back in there, right? They can't go back in my pocket.
Correct. Yes. So you cannot commingle accounts. And let me just preface also, a lot of folks assume they can use their retirement dollars for their guest house, their vacation house. You cannot do that. So the nice thing about this, the IRS says what you cannot do. So the best analogy I give is for folks familiar with the health savings account, where, we need surgery. Great. One of your kidneys, to go to the hospital, you go. We want to get manicure pedicures. Sorry, we're kind of below board here. Same deal here. The IRS says no life insurance, no collectibles. And the big one is not yourself or your linear family. Everything else is in play. So this is, especially from a passive income, 99.9% of the time, you're going to be in the clear without any question.
Got it. So in the process of doing the checkbook in and out, how do I get the money? Like the way we have it set up is we have property managers that do all the work for us. So we don't do any work and they send us a check or a direct deposit. Would it be as easy as direct deposit into the Rocket Dollar account?
Exactly, yes. And, we, once again, unlike maybe some other stories you may have heard, we never touch your money. We are the conduit to set up your account. We have an FDIC partner bank in the background. So as I said, let's say you had a bucket of money from your piggy bank checking account, you invested, that dividend came in. You had also had a bucket from your Rocket Dollar SDIRA. That investment went out and it gets ACH'd or wired back in. It's literally the same action that you would expect and same behavior. And frankly, kind of the quickness in the background that, these dividends just show up in your account.
That's great. And it sounds like it's as simple as if you had your own regular bank account that you had cash in there as you're running your business, and that's all the business is running through. Now, from there, thinking about who actually owns the property. Does the 401k own the property? Do you start an LLC? How does that work out?
Yeah, so I mean, in layperson's terms, your retirement, which of course you own, owns the property. Now, as we talked about, you can't touch it. Like, it's not a magic account. I mean, if you're 45 years old and you're going to tap out the balance, you are going to pay an early penalty. We'll caveat and talk about the solo 401k in a moment. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, your funds are going to go out to purchase this property. And then as you sell it, you're going to take the gains and probably invest in something else. What you do bring up, though, is unique. So a lot of folks may be familiar with this niche called SDIRA. It's kind of the Gatorade term. Secondly, and separately, there's something called the solo 401k, also known as the individual 401k. And there's two things that's very powerful here. So I'm going to, kind of come back here. Let me bring up my screen again, because I think this would be good to share with folks. So what's nice here is in the solo 401k, there's two things to really point out. The first is the high contribution. So a lot of folks know an IRA, you can contribute, which means you're lowering your tax basis by, say, 6,000 or 7,000, pending your age. What's great here is that you can actually do about 10 times that, $56,000 or $62,000 if you're above 50 years old. And if it's a husband-wife team, you can multiply this by 2. So you're looking at 6 figures that you're lowering your tax basis by annually. Now, in addition, you can also borrow up to $50,000. This is super powerful. So as long as you pay it back over 5 years. So who do we see? A lot of folks say, I just need more cash for maybe a side real estate deal. Do whatever you want with money. I want to go on vacation. A lot of entrepreneurs use it as a line of credit effectively to themselves. And all of that's within this solo 401k. So, as more Americans have a side gig or dualpreneurs, et cetera, I think we're going to see a lot more money going into the solo K, also known as the individual 401k.
So in buying the property, really what we need to know, and it might be something we need to talk to a lawyer about, possibly an accountant, but in the name of the property, what name is it going to be under? Like, would it be under mine or it can't, I don't think it should be under the 401k because then that's tied to it. You don't want to do that. How would you put the name? Like, what's the ownership title for the property?
Sure. So, I mean, as an active, so from this standpoint, that you're buying a physical property, once again, you cannot live in it, you cannot do the upkeep, but you are collecting checks. So you're a landlord for all intents and purposes. Yeah. So I would say my rule of thumb, this is personal, is that you do have an LLC for each property. Some of it's for legal reasons. For example, in the solo 401k by default, there's not an LLC sort of involved. There's not, a custodian by definition in this. You would just as a manager of your own, basically your own plan, you can then say you have a house in Arizona and New Mexico. You can add LLCs in those respective states. What we do on the self-directed IRA side, we do the IRA LLC with the LLC in Colorado. We found their state very friendly to work with. It's a very smooth process. So think of Colorado as the parent, and then maybe you have a house in Nevada, Oregon, et cetera, that these are child LLCs that go under. So, but yeah, it's, however, depending if you're in the solo K or the retirement, or in the IRA, this respective retirement account would own the property, which of course you are going to be the full owner of your own retirement account.
Got it. And for anybody and everybody listening, talk to an accountant and talk to your attorney, both of them, to make sure that you are completely covered. And so, like, don't take our word for it. This is just
Yeah.
our own experience of what we've seen and what we've heard from other people, but definitely consult both your attorney and your accountant because you want to make sure you have everything lined up, at least from their perspective. Now, Dan, from this point forward, it looks like it's really, really is it literally a checkbook that people can write a check to if they have a contract that they got to pay off, or is it an account, like a bank account, they can have it send checks out for you? How does that work out?
Yeah, it's actually going to be a checking account. And it's funny you mention it, but just because our team has done such an amazing job, I am going to, once again, bring this up here on the screen. So it's actually going to be, I'm super impressed here, so I do want to show. It's going to be a branded checkbook. So let me preface, like, your money, if you want to ACH, you can do that. If you want to wire, there's a slight nominal fee from our partner bank. That's the only other fee. I mean, our pricing is extremely simple and transparent. But as you can see here, and this is SDIRA Bank or partner bank. They're great. They're out of Colorado. This is part of our gold offering that you receive this great checkbook. So think of somebody very active, or if you like the feel of the check and you're using it or to stay local. And particularly the example before, if you are buying a physical property, so I'd say, being more active than just putting in a check and waiting for dividend checks to come through, you also have your debit card. Because what you don't want to do is commingle with your personal account or other account. And this makes it so easy. And this was a lot of the feedback that we heard from our clients is like, hey, how can I get this? How can I also have some of the, for example, here, I want to wire money once a month out. Can I do that? I want to have a nice LLC name. I think I'm going to have some pretty strong dollars in here. How do I do the Form 5500? So this is feedback we've heard from our clientele, over over the last year or two, and we put all this together right here, as we call it, a gold offering. That said, for folks that might want to just open an account for one passive investment, it's still the one-time upfront $316.15. I'm not sharing this as much as a plug, but other folks out there, we'd be looking at 3 or 4 or 5 pages of fine print. That's just not our style.
And I love how easy it is. You see $15 a month to actually have your own sole 401k. Basically, you're self-directed and everything is managed for you. And it was as simple. We watched that video. It took like literally 30 seconds to go up and register, and then another 30 seconds to a minute to get everything connected to where you get your funds transferred over, and then just $15 a month. Now, I personally, I do I suggest for students a couple different things. Number one, if you want to just cash it all out, which is what I did. I literally cashed out my 401k and IRA because even with the penalties, I make so much more money with real estate. But the big thing is that's my risk tolerance. That's what I want to do because I wanted my money now. So many of my students, they don't want to touch that. They don't want to have the, the fees. They're like, hey, I've already worked hard for that. I don't want to have the fees and penalties and all that sort of stuff. And I said, well, this is a great option. Yeah. And it's only $15 a month. And you're literally doing the exact same thing, but you're saving it away for future when you're able to retire. So it looks like it's a really, really good option.
Yeah, thank you. And I think your point is great. And you're right. I think folks that do have the benefit and the mindset to potentially liquidate, I personally don't recommend it because I would say, at least being here for a few years, really get to know this, because there are some surprises in case you're deeply entrenched. And yeah, but no, as I said, we just want to keep it as simple as possible for as many people as possible.
So it looks like you guys really only make money. It's the $15 a month to basically just, it's not hosting. What's it called? Like being the facilitator of it, I guess?
Yeah, so we're the conduit to set up and the facilitator from an ongoing basis. Mm-hmm.
Man, that seems rather beneficial. Now, what are some things that can be concerned for, to watch out for as we go through this? I know you guys have tried to do your best to make sure that it's all taken care of, but is there anything that we should watch out for or be on the lookout for?
Yeah, and let me step back off here. As I said, what's nice about this is the IRS says what you cannot do. So, no life insurance, no collectibles like buying a Picasso. The big thing is no self-dealing. So not yourself or your linear family. So you have to be cautious, that you're not buying the beach house, but you stay there and you post something on Facebook. I mean, that's just way over the line. Other times though, where, not a gray line, but oddly enough, a brother and sister is not considered your linear family, but you have to watch you're not giving them a sweetheart deal versus your other investors. So, and there's been a lot of cases. Our knowledge base, our FAQ goes into actually HubSpot. It's kind of like a Salesforce voted it one of the best in the world, uses it on all their demos now. So from that standpoint, the main thing is just, don't commingle money when it comes in and out. So set up the ACH. And I think people have a pretty good gut feel if they're trying to do something, frankly shady. And, but that's, we will give advice and more conservative if need be, but more realistic. For example, cannabis, there has not been a top down across the country. So we, in good faith, cannot say, yeah, sure, be in this cannabis sort of entity. Crypto, on the other hand, yes, there's a lot of times where crypto is a valid investment, as is gold, and makes sense.
Wow. So a thought is, because I get plenty of students that say that they either have a 401k that they want to give to some, or not give, but like invest with somebody else, or, I don't know, a 20-year-old, 25-year-old that I'm working with as a student saying, hey, my dad has a 401k, and he wants to use that, but he doesn't want to cash it all out. Would the dad be able to set this up and then be able to use that as a way to lend for the property to get the son's business going? How would that process work?
Yeah, great question. So here, what you have to watch is that, once again, think in terms of linear family. So, and I love the photo of your kids behind, but your kids, your parents, your grandparents, of course, in-laws are not included in family. You're not getting a sweetheart deal from your mother-in-law, but in all seriousness, yeah, that's where you have to watch. Not even that also, but I get calls, hey, can my husband and husband-wife team, can we go together? Short answer is yes, but you want to be at the same pro rata and then have a separate LLC with that separate multi-member LLC purchasing the property. So once again, as I said, what's disqualified is a parent cannot invest in their child's startup. But, with the solo 401k, you could borrow up to $50,000. So as long as you pay it back over 5 years and do whatever you want with that money. So, I think some folks that are pretty savvy that knows certain dollars are coming in, and it's, as I said, they take advantage of that in the solo 401k.
So let me give you a very practical going along with that.
Sure.
And I appreciate everything you said. I am literally starting a gym. It's going to be a 24-hour gym, and it's going to cost maybe about $40,000. I have the cash. I'm really blessed to have the cash to be able to buy it. But if it were the scenario, I could go to my dad and say, hey, Dad, I want you to invest with me. And he has a 401k. And I said, I have this business I'm starting. It's an LLC. It's going to be an actual company. And how would I have him walk through the process and then be able to lend? Is that even possible? Because he's starting, it's a business. Is that possible? And how would we do it?
Yeah. So, once again, your father would be a disqualified person for your company. So he would not be able to invest, assuming you're going to be the equivalent of, CEO, director, over 10% owner. Now, let's take let's say Gold's Gym, and you happen to work at Gold's. You're hourly, or even a manager at Gold. So you're probably less than even 1% owner, even 0.01. And your dad wanted to put money, in Gold's, even if it's a private company, let's say through crowdfunding. He can do that because you're not 10% plus owner, you're not a director, you're not CXO, you can't make a material impact on this. So yeah, so that's, I think, the caution that you can't. Now, once again, if your father if he is self-employed and can roll over money or transfer money over, he can borrow that 50,000, do whatever he wants with it. So as long as 50,000 gets back into that account in 5 years. So yeah, he can use that money, invest with you, knowing that he's going to have another source of income that can pay back this loan to his 401k. And it's usually the nominal and plus say 6 or 8%, whatever rate, is reasonable. So that is a possibility. So it's as similar as I say, it's kind of like a personal line of credit, what you can do for whatever you want. So as long as you can pay it back in time.
Got it. That makes sense. And I just wanted to get as clear as possible. Now,
sure.
When it comes to a specific property, if myself and my wife, we had a 401k and we wanted to use this self-directed or solo, we wanted to go this route to buy the property, that is possible. That is not against the rules. It's just because it's not like giving it to family members. We're buying an investment property and all the proceeds is coming back into the bank.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as, once again, you, your wife, your parents are not living in the property or staying there on the weekends, or you're not the one that's going in doing the physical labor, of course, you're still collecting checks. So, to keep it real clean, I would say have a third-party manager. And there's even some websites where it's as cheap as $100 a month, for probably some relatively simple properties. Of course, vet that out, go with somebody trusted. But yeah, from a hands-off sort of view, it's a great idea.
That's great. Great. Well, I think you really just walked through everything. I mean, it seems so, it's hard to say this, but it seems so much more simple than I ever thought it could be. Because back when I first learned about this 15 years ago, I was like, it just seems so complicated because it was complicated. Now it just seems so easy that literally anybody who has a 401k can actually do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're real fortunate it's kind of like when you're born. And, the nice thing, much like you, myself and the founding team, we've been in this space for a decade. We've used these accounts. I've personally raised X millions of dollars for self-storage facilities. Collectively, we've seen and we've had the respective pain points. And I think the net effect of this is that I'd say 1% of probably even really savvy folks are even aware the accounts exist. So our mission, if anything else happens, is to pull back, outside of these fancy, purple t-shirts here, is to pull back the curtain from the Wizard of Oz and say, hey folks, it's your money. You have your slice of your old 401k IRA of this $10 trillion with the T and all your self-employed money to invest, back into your community or something that you believe in. I think this is the natural trend that you see, not to stereotype millennials, but more since the advent of crowdfunding, more folks are getting diversified, moving to this, as we call it, the pretty pie chart. Now we're just enabling folks. So, on this note, I'll give one final, screen share here to really, I think, hone on this point. But here we go. And thanks for folks on the calls. We go through these. Yeah, but, I'd say kind of the big takeaway and the wow moment for me here is, this is kind of the eye test, is that most folks I'd say naturally, on the right side of the screen, you see this beautiful looking pie chart and it talks about real estate, hard assets, maybe a friend's startup. This is what we do naturally with our money. We have a second house, we give somebody a loan, we want to, give back to the other side of the tracks, but as a conscious investment, that's going to pay off. But then in retirement land, it's this kind of taboo, stock bond fund 60-40. So as I said, what we're doing is we are empowering folks, and you literally saw the light speed of how quick it was to open one of these accounts, to have, as we call this, 21st century diversification with your retirement dollars. And, a big final point for me and why I'm really proud to be associated with Rocket Dollar is my big light bulb moment. I'm at one of these family office high net worth shows where folks say, even in front of open doors, we have less than 10% of our stuff in stocks and bonds. Our pie chart looks a lot like all the pretty colors over here. So what we are doing now at, Rocket Dollar is whether you have $1 million, $100,000, even $10,000 to give you this ability, to invest passively for this sort of diversification.
That's terrific. I love it. And so my side looks like the way I invest is more on the right side. Definitely. I don't own stocks or bonds now because I'm horrible at it. So I invest in real estate. Now, I think the very last question I have is what everybody is always concerned about is security of their money. I believe you said it's FDIC insured and it's protected. So as far as being, it's just like if it's at a normal bank, because it is at a bank, but everything's pretty secure and protected, correct?
Yeah, it is. So, once again, our bank is FDIC insured. So just like any other banking institution, if you have faith in America, then your money's going to be around. In addition, we've done a SOC 2 type 2 audit. As I said, we've always done we call it the hard right versus the easy wrongs to do for security. For reference, part of why we did this also is our CEO's last company, 18 months in Goldman Sachs, purchased them. So we kind of knew the type of base that you would want. And we crossed that, year and a half sort of portal now where we can really go and scale. If we did have that proverbial Super Bowl commercial, we would be able to, really create thousands of these accounts in real time. So, pretty exciting from that standpoint.
That's great. And I was excited that you said, hey, there's an ability you can help out anybody listening to this, any of my students, anybody in the audience, giving them a discount for going through a link that we have for them, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So let me bring this up here right now. Yeah, so as a thank you to everybody here, and listen, I won't say my last name or make you spell it. So first of all, if I can ever be a service, here's my direct dial, 512-779-0843, dan@rocketdollar.com, rocketdollar.com/masterpassiveincome. And as a huge thank you for $50 off anybody that wants to sign up, Master Passive Income 19, use that in the code and the referral code and checkout. And, we'd love to have you on board.
That'd be great. And I fully appreciate it. I love getting things that actually help the students and audience actually benefits them and gives them a discount. So cool. So Master Passive Income 19 is the promo code they got to use. Go to Rocket Dollar and you can go get set up through there.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Dan, thank you so much for coming on. It was really, really great watching the process of, literally taking 30 seconds to actually get set up. And that's just great. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Dustin. Cheers.